is going on, ladies and gentlemen? You must be feeling super fine because it's a super packed Super Bowl edition of the Switch It Up Show. I'm your host today, Seth Trav, joined as always by our friend Glenn.
Hey man, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty all right. I'm feeling good and full. I had a lot of appetizers, saw a lot of trailers, saw a lot of the gameplay. And speaking of gameplay, we've got 3 big old games today coming to you on the Switch It Up Show. But before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, what we're always going to do is let this beat ride out like the clock in that Super Bowl game. Anamanaguchi, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to see them do a Super Bowl halftime show. I'm trying with all the references, but, they're not all taken.
No, they're not.
No. So, ladies and gentlemen, something that did take for me was the first game I'm going to be reviewing today, and it's called Townsmen. It is $19.99, and I don't know if you get any gold coins when you buy it digitally. From humble backwater to medieval metropolis, build the city of your dreams. Develop your tiny village to a grand medieval empire with a thriving economy and happy villagers. Find spots for mining ore, harvest the crops of your farms, and collect coins as taxes from your folk. Build jousting fields, taverns, marketplaces, and beautify your city with impressive statues, magnificent monuments, and lush gardens. But there are also dangers lurking close by. Bandits are in the area, looking to plunder and pillage your peaceful town. Build barracks, guard towers, and recruit brave soldiers to protect your citizens from harm. You rule the whole empire from your castle, and make sure your inhabitants inhabitants have fun and stay happy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is a medieval mayor sim, as I would like to call it, much in the vein of, say, Civilization or Age of Empires. Or Age of Mythology, if you want to go that deep. But with much more of, say, like a SimCity focus. Because you really, really are just sort of like the mayor or lordship of this medieval town. The game, I want to start out by saying, super addicting. If you are a fan of the old Age of Empires, you probably know that you can just lose like 17 hours or 6 hours at a time just sitting there, building up your towns, getting your barracks going, collecting resources, things like that. And this game, you can definitely lose a solid like 6.5 hours to it. Graphically, it looks a lot like a Where's Waldo book come to life, which I really love. The music is fun. It fits with the times. The sound is pretty good. Things like that. There's not much of a focus on the military in this game, as you would find in, say, a normal RTS, and you don't really advance past the medieval ages. You stick in that era, and you make it work. You make it happen for yourself, which is very, very cool, actually. I thought that at first when I played it, I was like, this might get a little boring. Might not be as fun because you're not necessarily going into the future, things like that. But it really, really grabs you and engrosses you with what it gives you. The story campaign sort of tutorial thing, you go through it, and that's actually surprisingly fun too. It's one of the first times I've actually done like a tutorial campaign thing in one of these like living strategy games like this. I usually like to kind of like dive in and just go straight for it and build the town and figure it out as you go. But this one, I wanted to see what the story was about, and it's pretty fun. Only drawback I really feel like this game has is that the technology tree doesn't make sense sometimes. It seems like what they want you to do is create the need before you can create the item. So one of the things that bugs me is that like you can make a tavern. Tavern's one of the first things you can build at any kind of point in time. So you'll build a tavern, and then you can build, say, the winery and collect wheat and the brewery and a monastery, things like that, to be able to actually supply your tavern. Aside from that, you would have to actually purchase, say, wine or brew from the marketplace. So there's a lot more of an emphasis on trading, on taxing your citizens. You can adjust the tax rate and see the happiness. But to me, I'm like, shouldn't I have the supply and then that breeds like the tavern? Like, shouldn't I be like, oh, wow, we figured out how to make wine. Let's make a place to sell wine. Not, let's make a place to sell wine. Wait, what's wine? How do you get that? Like, that doesn't make much sense to me. But again, aside from that, I absolutely love this game. We did just receive word that if you got it on Steam, you will get a free expansion to the game, giving you a little bit more items, people, characters, things like that. And I'm waiting on word back to see if we get the expansion for free on the Switch as well. I really hope we do. But, ladies and gentlemen, all that being said, Townsmen is a place I definitely want to visit and live in. I am going to give it a rare score for myself, a 4.75 out of 5.
My man, that is up there. That is a lofty score, I gotta say.
You know, I would have given it a 5, but again, the technology tree doesn't make a lot of sense to me at times. Like I said, it doesn't make sense that you would have the places to make these things or need these things before you can supply it. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's
like,
understandable.
That doesn't seem like how society should work. But what do I know? You know, I'm not a sociologist.
I'm like, you've ruled many a nation. I take your word for it.
You know, it's been a while since I was the king of Cuba.
That's exactly what they refer to the leader of Cuba
Right.
as. You're right. Yeah,
The king, the
king.
czar.
the king. But you know, in my game, you know, you don't play necessarily as a king, but as a knight in that Dragon's Lair trilogy. Not one, not two, but 3 games for the price of $19.99 on the Nintendo eShop. And no, sir, if you want gold, you're gonna have to get it from these castles because you're not getting a single gold coin with this purchase. Let me tell you. Now let me go ahead and hit you with the synopsis before I jump right into the gameplay. Included are all 3 arcade classics: Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, and Dragon's Lair 2 Time Warp. In Dragon's Lair, you play the heroic Dirk the Daring, a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon. In Space Ace, you will have to take control of Ace, defender of justice, truth, and the planet Earth. Ace is being attacked by the evil Commander Borf. Struggle with Dexter to regain his manhood, destroy the Inferno Ray, defeat the evil Borf, and be Space Valiant Warrior. The fate of the Earth is in your hands. And then lastly, in Dragon's Lair 3 Time Warp, once again you are leading Dirk on a perilous quest. Spirited away to a wrinkle in time by evil wizard Mordok, Princess Daphne will be forced to marry the wicked Mordok unless Dirk can save her. Once the casket of doom has opened, Mordok will place the death ring upon Daphne's finger in marriage, and she will be lost forever in the Time Warp. Yes, sir. This game came out just a couple weeks ago on January 17th. As I mentioned, it is $19.99 on the Nintendo eShop. Mr. Setrap, have you had any personal experience with the Dragon's Lair trilogy?
Is Dragon's Lair the animated game?
Absolutely, it is, sir.
Point and click?
It is very much a one-click, full-motion video game. The game itself is animated by Don Bluth. I'm sure that name should ring a bell for you. He is the director and one of the animators in a bunch of movies from your childhood, starting with, let's go with Pete's Dragon, The Secret of Nim, An American Tail, The Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Anastasia, Rockadoodle. But some of those should hopefully stand out for you. Basically, if you
a bunch,
basically if it was an animated movie and it wasn't Disney and it was popular in the theaters, this guy probably had his hand in it. He also worked on a lot of different Disney movies. So if you are a fan of traditional animation, then Dragon's Lair trilogy is something you're going to want to check out. When this game originally came out, it was both in the arcades and it was on Laserdisc. So So because basically this game is a series of quick time events. All these games, Dragon's Lair, Dragon's Lair 2, and Space Ace, they're all quick time event based, and they are difficult. Trying to play this in an arcade, I couldn't even imagine, because I remember going to the arcade. You really can't find an arcade around as much, but there used to be an arcade at pretty much like every mall like ever, and it was big, and I could see how this game would definitely suck out like a ton of quarters from you. In Dragon's Lair, the first game, you're basically just walking into into this castle, and you find out that the princess has been taken. You have to go find her. Very much like Mario style, pretty much. And you're from the as you perform a quick time event, you're treated to another 20-30 seconds of animation, and there's another quick time event, and there's another, and that's fine because I love quick time events. When they pop up in like different like modern games, like I'm way into them. But when they pop up in this, it's really only four directions and maybe like a button that you have to press. That's it. So like there's not. It sounds like it would be easy, but oh man, your reaction time is like you better be like on par, because I'm telling you, maybe you have a full second after it like flashes this light. And at first I was like, I'm usually pretty good at quick time events. Am I just like, in my old advanced age, am I just horrible now? Like, do I just like stink at this? But as I started to do a little bit more research, this series of games is famous for being very difficult. So playing this in the arcade, like I couldn't imagine like how much money you would be spending and like really not getting much of anywhere. I checked in the settings, and there is a couple different options for you in terms of difficulty. You can set it on either like easy or hard, and I was on easy, and I'm still getting it handed to me, man. Like it's not easy, but it's also not impossible. It's one of those games where like I feel like not that there aren't games like this anymore, but like I remember like a lot of the games that we grew up playing like on the retro systems, like those games would have like punishing difficulty. You almost had to like memorize like as you were playing. And the cool thing about this game is that the sequences are the same. So as you fail, if you you will get better as you progress, because you're gonna be like, all right, I had to hit the left stick over there. Like I got to make sure I press that next time. So you will be able to get further. And the animation is so good. It's like you're watching an animated movie, so it makes you want to keep playing. The problem I have though with the first Dragon's Lair game in this is that there's a couple sound effects, but there's no voiceover. The characters don't really talk at all.
Oh, really?
Like I think the princess says like the only thing she says is save me, and that's pretty much it. Not that there's not music, and not that there's not sounds. There are, but nobody talks. So that kind of like takes me out of it, because the animation looks so good. Like I want to hear the characters talk. I want it to be a cartoon, and it's the first one. It's not quite there, but the animation is so good that it is fun to play, despite the fact that it is not easy. The cool thing is that as you move on to the other games, Dragon's Lair 2, in Dragon's Lair 2, it's more almost like set in like the world of the Seven Dwarves. You are living with these, you're still the same knight, and you're living with these other like little dudes, and the princess is kidnapped this time, and then you have to go through all these different fairy tales. Like there's one where you fight the Queen of Hearts, and it looks very Alice in Wonderland type. But the cool thing is, again, it's the same quick time events, but everybody talks. Everybody talks almost the whole time, so it's almost like you're watching like more of a cartoon, which I could get into, because that's what I want. The cool thing is, if you find that you're playing these games and they're a little bit too difficult for you, you can find the gameplay of it online, and you can watch somebody like beat the whole thing. And it's actually interesting because it gives you an idea of kind of how much content is in the game. All in all, there's about anywhere between 10 and 12 minutes of complete animation as you watch the whole thing. It would sound like it's not that long, but like I said, the game is difficult. As you continue to play more and more, even though it's only 11 minutes, it's going to take you way longer than 11 minutes to finish this game. And then lastly, you have Space Ace, and in Space Ace, it's very much kind of the same characters, although it takes place, of course, in space, and you have to go and rescue the princess. But you go back and forth between, being Dexter or the Space Ace at different times. So when you're Dexter, you're kind of like this weak little guy, and then when you transform to the Space Ace for different scenes, you're super strong. So basically, Dexter usually uses a gun, and Space Ace is usually there when you have to like kind of have a little bit of extra like oomph to it. But again, in Space Ace, you have all the voiceover, and apparently it was Dragon's Lair, the first game, Space Ace, followed by Dragon's Lair 2. So you get all 3 games in this, and when you think about it, like it's a good value at $19.99. But the thing is, I just don't know if the difficulty is going to be a turnoff for some people. It's not easy.
I remember it not being easy.
Well, I mean, you will be reminded quickly at how difficult it is, and I feel like if there was an option to make it easier, then I would definitely like it more, because this, like, I like full motion video, I like traditional animation, and especially when there's a voiceover, you know, I like it even more. But the fact that it's so difficult does kind of take me out of it a little bit more. I'm gonna give this. I'd like that there's 3 games too for $20. I'm gonna give this a 3 though. I can't give it any higher than that. Whoa. I want to give it higher. I really do. I like. And I don't know, maybe if you're really good at these games, like if you're really, really good at quick time events, like, I mean, I'm talking fast. This is easily like, this is like a 4.5. But for me, like, I mean, and I feel like I'm good at it, like, but I'm not good enough.
No.
And it's hard, man. It takes it out of you. It takes it out of you. It's still fun, don't get me wrong, but the only thing that hurts this game is the fact that it's so difficult. It looks great. It sounds great. I like the story, even though it's a little bit repetitive. But for me, you know, this is a nostalgia trip. This game has been around for like a long time. It's been out for like 30 plus years. And if you wanted to play it before, you either had to get it on PSN. It's super expensive on the Wii. It's like a $60 game. So like, you know, to be able to get it now again is awesome. And for $19.99, I think it's a good buy. Just, you know, come ready. Bring your best self.
Yeah. Speaking of best self, you're gonna need it to try to play this one. It is our 3rd review today, and it is called At Sundown, Shots in the Dark. It is $19.99, and it is currently available on the Nintendo eShop. At Sundown, Shots in the Dark is stealth-driven, top-down multiplayer shooter in which up to 4 players compete in both online and local deathmatch, with a variety of cool weapons to take each other out with, and multiple maps across 6 different zones. Only the best will dominate each round and survive the ultimate challenge to rise to the top at sundown. So, this is by Versus Evil and Mild Beast Games. Okay, so it's your kind of standard top-down shoot 'em up. Hope to kill each other in an arcade style setting, which is cool if you could find anybody to play with online, which I never once could. The game came out last week on Thursday. Could never once find a single match to get involved with people, so I was always playing against the computer. Amazingly enough, I did manage to win once against the computer, but this game is annoyingly difficult. They really stress this idea of stealth, but what I think they forget to realize is that in most stealth games, you can still see your character. Doesn't matter if you can't see the other character, you should be able to see your character at least a little bit. You will rarely see your character on the screen. I tried it in multiple different maps because there's 6 of them, 6 different like worlds you can go to, and then it's just sort of like 3 variants on each of the world is what I want to say, which they're neat for a top down, and the characters play differently. You have 4 of them, and all the weapons are different and they're fun. And you can level up, stuff like that, to make it easier for yourself. But the game is awful when it comes to this stealth stuff, because you lose your character, you lose the enemy, and the only time you're going to see yourself is if you're near any lights. But it's half the time it's impossible to find a light. The only way you know where you are is because somebody's starting to shoot at you already. You can shoot your gun and you won't see yourself a lot of the time, is what happened to me at least. I just couldn't even find myself on the map. And it was like, why would you design a game this way? Like it makes no sense to me that you would completely lose your character in a space where you have so much area to walk around and so many hallways that like you're never gonna find yourself. It makes the game nearly impossible, and yet somehow the NPCs are able to shoot you through walls and everything. So you're already dead. To me, it was more frustrating than anything. Great ideas, great attempts, but they mostly fell flat. If they took away this idea of stealth, I think it would be probably a 4 out of 5. But because it's so almost unplayable, I got to give it a 2.5 out of 5.
Hey man, we're dropping the hammer today a little bit.
A little bit. We ran the gambit. We had some great games. We had some okay games, and we had some games that were really not that good. But ladies and gentlemen, that's what you get when you come to a Super Bowl stocked episode of the Switch It Up Show, hosted by me, Seth Trav. You can get at me on Twitter at Seth Trav. Our friend Glenn here, he's at From the Crib on Twitter. Together, we are at Switch It Up Show, and of course at Preachcast. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, if things ever start to get boring, you can always switch it up.